bigot?
Uneducated.
Uneducated? Okay.
I know very educated people.
Yeah.
Okay, so you've known educated people who are bigots. All right.
Maybe they're just not educated in the right way.
Or maybe they're not educated in the right way. Okay, so I want to go back to this thing you talk about, the all in the family thing, because that intrigues me, right? Because Archie Bunker was known as America's favorite bigot. And his show was on TV, if I'm not mistaken, for 10 years as All in the Family.
It was number one for most of those years.
And it was number one for most of those years. And then it was on for another 5 years as Archie's Place. So 15 years in America's living rooms. And they had, I don't know how many spin-offs, right? So Maude was a spin-off. The Jeffersons was a spin-off. 227 was a spin-off of the Jeffersons. And so that Archie, and the Jeffersons and Archie were the same, it was the same show, right? One was in an apartment and the one was in New Jersey. I don't know where it was exactly. But why is it that no one said anything complimentary about a bigot, and secondly, Archie Bunker being a bigot, yet he was in America's living rooms for over 15 years? How is that? Why is that?
He said things that people thought but didn't say.
Okay, so he said things that people thought but didn't or couldn't say themselves.
Everyone knew someone who was like Archie Bunker.
Everybody knew somebody who was like Archie Bunker.
And
All right.
Edith.
And Edith, right? Because they were a team, right? So as loudmouth as he was, she was demure and submissive, and right.
Well, then when what's Jefferson's first name?
George.
George,
Was it
yeah,
George?
George.
Oh yeah. So when George came to the picture, he was the black version of him.
Correct.
And so then that created a whole other dynamic. You had a black and a white bigot coming at each other, so that created all the humor that, it wasn't just the white, it wasn't just the black. I mean, we're all have that capacity, I guess.
Yeah. So I took I did improv comedy for a while, and so I took some classes, and so you can learn how to do comedy, right? And so one of the things that we talked about in the classes is that there are two reasons that people laugh at stuff, right? We laugh at people who are smarter than us. So Gilligan's Island, the professor could make solar panels out of coconuts, but he couldn't make a ship to get them off the island, right?
That's so.
Right? So we laugh at that. We find that funny or humorous, right? We also laugh because we see people and we say what? That we are what? Smarter than they are, right? And so part of what drew people to Archie Bunker was the fact that there were people who in fact did agree with what he was saying and did not have a place. There was also a changing environment between, and if I'm not mistaken, he started in '69. And so you can imagine what the world is like, all this turmoil and upheaval. And so he's changing, right? And also that it was also a satire for us to look at ourselves and see who and what we are, right? So that Archie Bunker character in that show, I personally think was a pivotal point for us today. And so I like watching the reruns too, because I can see how far we've come and how much further we have to go. And so one of the things I thought was interesting was that Archie Bunker had a son-in-law, and his son-in-law's name was played by Rob Reiner. Is that correct? Yeah. And he would that was Gloria's husband, and what's that? Meathead. And so that was his name for him. And so Archie would go into his rants, and Meathead would give Archie facts. And he'd say, Archie, it's not like that. Here are the facts. And what would Archie say once he heard the facts? How would he respond to the facts? Did Archie go, oh, yeah, thank you for those facts. No, he didn't do that.
You don't know what you're talking
Right?
about.
He said, you didn't know what you're talking about. He'd call them names. He'd make some kind of joke. He'd not focus on what was happening. And so what's apparent to me is that bigotry You cannot change a bigot with information. Right? Because I don't know if you've ever had a conversation. You're trying to have a conversation, and logic, blah, blah, blah. Logic never reaches the bigot because bigotry is not logical. It is emotional. So if you're engaging a person who is a bigot, and you're trying to use logic, you're going to lose every time. But you have to use emotions with a bigot. And one emotion above all others moves a bigot. And I'm going to save that till later. All right. So prejudice. What is
Into my
prejudice?
seat, that's not fair.
Well, it keeps you
I
engaged.
gotcha, I'm with you.
So prejudice. What is prejudice?
Just like the word says, you're prejudging.
So prejudging. Right? Is prejudice good or bad? Bad. People say bad. What's that?
Isn't it, don't some people say that it evolved from like early humans when they would socialize clans and tribes for safety? So they
Let's talk about that. Right? So I believe, this is my belief, right? Okay, so let's go this way. So I'll take your argument, right?
Well, it's not my
No,
argument.
but I mean, you brought it up. I'm not totally putting it on you in case it's wrong, because it's not.
It's wrong, I'll believe you.
Yeah, it's not, right? So here's a scenario. So to take what you've introduced in this conversation, right? So let's take the scenario. It's 11 o'clock at night. I'm walking down the street. There are about 5 guys walking my way. What decision do I make?
Going to the next shopping store.
I can go to the next open store, but nothing's open. It's 11 o'clock at night. I what? I cross the street. I cross the street. And you would say that was what kind of decision? A what? Yeah. You might say it was a prejudice. I wouldn't say that. I would say it was a good decision. It's 11 o'clock at night. It's 5 guys. I can take 3, but those other 2, I can't get to them. Right? So you would say that was a good decision. That makes sense. Prejudice, prejudge. I prejudge the situation because I want it to be safe. Right? Mm-hmm. And in that context, it was a good decision. The problem with prejudiced people is they take a good decision out of its original context and try to apply it to every area of their life. So I take that good decision that I made, right, of crossing the street. 5 people, danger, cross the street, boom. I'm now at the Mall of America. I'm walking down an aisle. There's 5 people in that aisle. Using that scenario that I got from the street, what decision would I make? I got to go down a different aisle. Herein lies the problem. When I get to the new aisle, what do I see? 5 other people. So now I'm turning around. So all of a sudden, the good decision that I made in that one context that made sense, I'm trying to apply in another context, and it doesn't work. I want you to think about all the negative things that you can think about another group of people. Just think about it. Don't say it, just think about it. Now I want you to think about your family. Can you say that about any member in your family? Do you have a crook in your family? Do certain races have crooks associated with them? Do certain groups have drunks associated with them? Do you have drunks in your family? Whatever you can say about somebody else's group, you can find those same things in your own. Right? And so this phenotype becomes an illusion and an excuse for folks. I believe that racial profiling is a good tool for police. I think it's a good tool. You see somebody who's not supposed to be, blah, 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 blah. You ask them some questions, see what's going on. The problem, however, is when that becomes the only tool that you use in your policing, right? So I believe that people are prejudiced. So bigotry is an emotion. Prejudice is a thought. It's a thought. And discrimination is a action. Right? So bigotry is an emotion. Prejudice is a thought, which means that if I see a prejudiced person, I can introduce information to a prejudiced person. We can talk about it, and they just might go, huh, I hadn't thought of it like that. Right? Where a bigoted person, I can only move them with emotion, and the emotion that I can move them with is love. And we'll talk about how we define that as well. All right? One of the problems, let's say this is a mathematical equation, right? So 1 + 2 = 3. What we've done is we've got this discrimination thing mapped out pretty well. Right, so we know what discrimination is, we know what we shouldn't do, we know all of this stuff. And so what happens when someone violates discrimination, we go, bad person, don't do that again, right? So, for example, I was doing a training, and a woman, it was question and answers, and a woman stood up and she said, Andre, I want to know why all the colored people are moving into my neighborhood. What did the audience do? Those eyes. There were some of those eyes there too. What did the audience do? Right? Why did they go?
Because you say color.
Because she said colored, and what? You're not supposed to say colored, right? Everybody knows that, right? And so, you know, they were waiting on her. They were waiting on me too. They were like, "Oh, get her. This is he gonna get her, right?" But I didn't because that wasn't the time for that. What we typically do when we slap people on the hand and say, don't talk like that, don't do that, blah, 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 blah. We have them change their behavior for that second, but not change their heart or their mind. And so we come up with concepts like political correctness. That in front of your group, I will say the right thing. But when I get back with my homies, it's like, dude, did you see that broad? I cannot believe, dude, right? So because I learned how to act in public, but I don't know how to act outside. All right? Does that make sense?
Veneer.
Okay, cool. It is in fact a veneer. All right? Can we take a break?
Yep.
All right. So can we take about 6-minute break if you don't mind? All right, thank you so much. 6.5.
You guys have a reason for the 6?
No, just
You just traumatized. My mom used to tell me, if you're gonna come home, you know, like 10:31.
yes.
She never gave me any number.
Yeah. You gotta be in the toes.
Yes.
So any questions, comments, observations?
But I want to mark, I want to make sure I'm walking really correctly. And
That's a good question. So we would always say this to the realness in blacks and Americans. So we're and so he would have like real serious face and act like he's not moved by it. And it's amazing how you just you reveal people's hearts. And they don't think they're revealing it. It's awesome. That's awesome. I appreciate what you're saying.
Oh, yeah, good. Yeah, the biggest part is helping people, is reflecting people back on what it is, what they're doing. Because a lot of times people don't know. They're not aware.
The thing that bothers me, because you understand your humor doing improv, some of what we laugh about is true. There's a veneer of truth there. That's what makes it so freaking funny. And especially, I don't believe what you used to preach to. I love Jesus funny. And so, Christians especially, it's like, take the freaking corn cob out and chill out a little. But then when it comes down, you enter, but not with faith, but then you enter color, race. It's like, God off for a bit, that's why.
I got there's a group of people who wanted to